Um, now I see it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You don't know the power of sci-fi radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Alrighty, it's another Thursday night. We are back on Sci-Fi Radio. We weren't on Sci-Fi Radio last week. We had some weird kind of
Yeah, that was like entirely my fault.
flub up. That was weird. But this is Docking Bay 94. We're here every Thursday night on sci-fi.radio and also on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube and a whole bunch of other places. I'm Sean Obi-Shawn Crosby.
I'm calling
I'm-
Kaylee Crosby.
And I'm Gene Turnbow.
Sitting in for Jeff, who is at his daughter's graduation.
I'm not Jeff Solo Donahoe.
I was
down.
asking over at on Facebook Messenger, did you never have the nickname Turbo growing up?
No.
That
For
seems
some
like
reason, no.
like an
I mean,
obvious
it was
choice.
the kind of thing that, yeah, it's an obvious choice, but no, they never did that. They called me other things, mostly things I cannot repeat on the radio.
Yeah, well, we all got called that, but
Yeah, but the one that they did call me that I can repeat on the radio is Doc.
Doc, as
Doc.
in the dwarf. Which
No,
Doc?
as in the schmott guy in the room, you know.
Oh, okay.
But I kind of never pressed that because I always felt that Doc was a title you earned.
You never choose your nicknames, which is why so many of them are so unpleasant. But we were talking about it the other day. My nickname in high school was Gonzo, which was like patterned after the Muppet, but was kind of a really weird name because it's not a name I would have chosen for myself, certainly. And I always thought of myself more as a Kermit than a Gonzo.
No, I can, yeah, I got it.
But in comparison, everyone else, I was the crazy one. I was the kind of nuts one, and also the very sort of self-confident one who just sort of did whatever and didn't, give a fig for whatever anyone else thought.
So let's say hi to Lori and Sam, Karen, and Karen McCarthy, who are all on Facebook.
Oh wow! Hi, Karen McCarthy.
And to answer her question, yes, we are live, and we've got
Live.
Dawn and Laura and Frequent Falcon Flyer over on Twitch.
Sweet. Let's
Yeah,
see here.
That's a big
You know what?
collection.
I didn't check to see if anybody's on YouTube.
Well, they'll show up if they say hi. My chat like sort of encompasses everybody, and
I'm just concerned that I disconnected my microphone here.
I can hear
We can
you.
hear you.
Oh, okay. It must be just my headphones then. Yeah, whatever.
Jeff does that all the time.
Yeah, we have I've got this kind of flaky Pro Effects mixer rig that we replaced a Behringer that just sort of imploded, and then this one, not much better. It's got dirt in the knobs, and sometimes you get what you want, and sometimes you get crackling or nothing. I'm thinking of replacing it with a better unit.
Somebody did that with the morning show where they're like, "Oh, these vocals are terrible in the song, and whatever your mix is, it's awful." And I'm like, "I've done nothing to the mix," and then they adjusted their volume, and they went, "Oh, it came back," because apparently they'd lost their left
You just gotta
channel.
twist the gain knobs
Yeah.
a little bit. Maybe that's
Also, a
what.
shout out to Linda, who said she was glad to see you yesterday, Sean.
Yeah,
And
it was good to
Alan.
see her too at the El Centro, not El Centro. I do that every time. The El Cajon Star Car meetup. Charger Steve does a car show every Wednesday in downtown El Cajon. And yeah, it was really fun. We had our cars on display. Jeff and myself, Sean Christofides had his Star Speeder on display, and we were the Star Wars contingent, along with Herbie the Love Bug, a Lightning McQueen. There was a Cars Land fire truck that was there. Basically, you can put Cars eyes on pretty much anything, and it becomes from the movie Cars, which is pretty funny. What else do we have there? Oh, an A-Team van was there. Yeah, there were sometimes the car from the '89 Batman movie, which is a police car, a Gotham City police car, wasn't there, which is probably just as well because it's the 1951 Studebaker I want for the Muppet car. It just has Gotham paint colors on it and was apparently used in the movie. And so Charger Steve, who's the guy who organizes this thing, he's like, yeah, but that's a real screen-used movie car. I'm like, well, how do you know it wasn't screen-used in the Muppets first? They had two cars. He's like, I don't know that. I'm like, ha.
Yeah, that Muppet car is just iconic. It's just you can't look at that and not think, start humming to yourself, moving right along.
Well, and the thing is it makes so many people happy. Karen said, can you talk about the Studebaker project? Just real briefly. Right before COVID, we had set one up to do a GoFundMe for the Studebaker project, where the idea was we were going to replicate the one from the movie in all of its rainbow color glory and go to charities the way we do with Star Wars, except sit in the car and work Muppets out the side of the car. And then, of course, we also do the Hollywood Christmas parade, which it would be perfect for. We just did a Pride parade this past weekend, and if that car doesn't say Pride, I don't know what does. That would have been perfect for the Pride parade. Because what was funny is Sean Christofides had his Star Speeder from, it's a minivan done up like Star Tours in Disneyland. The original one, the blue and white version. And then I had my Star Wars car. And we had to figure out how to add all this rainbow stuff to it. And that Muppet car is pretty much good to go. It'd be pretty great. So... But anyway, so yeah, so we're doing this this project, and I guess in the interest of being complete, you can go to gofundme.com/f/MuppetCar, and that's it. And we're at about $5,000. We need 8,500, and the guy who owns the car that we're looking at is being super cool. He's like, I'm in no hurry.
Does the fundraiser have a deadline?
It doesn't. It goes on forever. And in fact, so what happened was when COVID hit, we started it March 2020. And it was like the first week in March 2020. And then 2 weeks later, everything shut down for COVID. And so what we did, I posted a note and I said, hey guys, COVID is more important. Your health is more important. Things are going to get weird. Let's just let it sleep. And we let it sleep for 3 years. And now that we're kind of coming out of COVID and it's become an endemic and not a pandemic, and we're sort of learning to live with it and we're dealing with it and people are getting back to normal stuff, we've reactivated it. And so really, I think we had about $1,200, and really just in the past few weeks, we've gotten up to about 5,000, which means people are like really kind of jumping in and helping out. And it's hard to explain a project like this, and it's hard to look at other people's projects that they're doing. Like I know a lot of people who build cars for Burning Man, and they'll get like $25,000, build a car, take it to Burning Man, destroy it, and that's it. That's the end of their project. Excuse me. And our project, we want to go for about at least 10 years. The idea is that we're going to do what we did with Star Wars, which we've been doing for almost 30 years. And we're going to do kids' hospitals and schools and libraries and all that kind of thing. So it's a really weird kind of project, but I mean, we're super dedicated to it. And even the better thing, and one of the things that I'm kind of counting on Karen to come do too, once we get the Muppets all squared away, we need the car and then we need the Muppets, anybody can come sit in the car and perform the Muppets, which would be cool. So even if you think you suck, I don't care. you want to be Kermit the Frog, sit in the car and grab Kermit the Frog and play with some kids. And it'll be great. And, we'll just have a constantly rotating crew of people who want to come in, sit for an hour, play a Muppet, then get up and go do something else. And, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Just, drop in, drop out, be part of it. And people get to be involved in a way that they don't in the Star Wars stuff. Because if I want someone to be involved in the Star Wars things that we do, I got to put them in our Stormtrooper armor. We got to find a costume for them. We got to do whatever. Honestly, anybody can look like anything and sit in this car.
Yeah, the Stormtrooper stuff is tricky and delicate, and
it's complicated.
And you break something, and it's like $400 to replace it.
Yeah. Well, the Muppets aren't cheap either.
But
But
I was going to say
they're easier to fix.
You're probably going to need like an extra one each of every character you do, and keep it in the trunk.
I don't know that we're going to go that far, but we'll see. We'll see. We're definitely going to need to have a way of cleaning them and making sure that they stay tidy. Because if we take them into kids' hospitals, they have to be something that we can make sure are in a pretty clean state.
And that you can disinfect.
Right. Which was one of the things when I used to do the Yoda puppet, they would disinfect Yoda all the time.
Yeah, and, you can't wipe them down, and they have to be tolerant to whatever it is you disinfect them with.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Well, I wanted to say before I forgot, happy birthday to Kelly, who's tuned in, because she just had a big birthday, which was great. She went to Disneyland and did all sorts of cool stuff. And while she's still here, I just want to say happy birthday.
And you noted that Kelly is listening on her ride home, and so she won't be able to reply.
That's
for a few
okay.
Minutes. But we also have Eric and Chris, and Talonthorn.
Sweet.
So they have chimed
Taylor-
in, and we want to say get well soon to Don, who's not feeling well.
Oh no, that's a bummer.
Yeah. He said he's feeling a little bit better, but he hasn't been feeling well for the last couple of weeks. So.
Ugh. We've had a lot of people on the morning show who have somebody went out and had their gallbladder removed, and it's like there's been a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's been like
Yeah.
So yeah, it's everybody should feel better. I hope. Fingers.
Alrighty.
crossed.
So, Sean, what have you done in the past week? You've been keeping busy.
I did mention the Pride Parade briefly. That was an invite from West Hollywood to go be part of their absolutely gigantic parade. We were entry number 83, I think. The Rebel Legion and the 501st, whom we should have been paired with or piggybacked onto, were like 43 or something like that. They were like halfway through the parade from us. But we really did have a pretty good time. I learned a lot about modding my car out for the parade and what I could and couldn't do, because I usually don't decorate my car up so much for parades. It's usually just like, look, it's Star Wars. And this time we sort of felt the need to do it. And so lots of suction cups, lots of magnets, garlands and flags and streamers and things like that. A bubble machine out the top of the car. That was an interesting experiment. But we had a really great time. Everybody was super enthusiastic. It took us 2 hours to go 1.5 miles. It was Reg Franchi came and joined me, which was fun. He was my co-pilot, and we had a pretty great time. So that was really neat, and that was sort of hot on the heels of the Memorial Day parade that we had done, which had less decoration on it, but still some. And so now I'm thinking of splitting the difference as the 4th of July parade comes up. What am I going to do patriotic-wise to the car? So it's it's kind of an interesting thing. So that was a pretty good time, and then we did the aforementioned El Cajon car show, which was really fun. Jeff displayed his Ghost, I displayed the G-Wing, and Sean Christofides displayed his Starspeeder 3000. Sean won an award for which he was very excited. He'd never done a car show before, and he was super excited, but it was really fun to be there with someone who'd never done a car show before, because you're like, we've done so many of them. We just know how they all work. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And how do I display? And, what do we do once we parked our cars and all that kind of stuff, which was really fun. So we wandered around. We looked at some really amazing classic cars. Somebody had a 1955 Studebaker, which is blue and white. Absolutely beautiful car, which was great. But the Studebaker is a funny car manufacturer. It was hard to find the actual name of the manufacturer on the car. So, like, it said Commander, and that was, like, really easy to find. And there was a guy standing next to it. He's, like, getting really frustrated. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he says, it's a Commander, but what kind of car is it? I'm like, oh, it's a Studebaker. And we had to, like, take him around to the front and show where it said Studebaker in, like, 4 feet of letters across the front of the car, which was really funny. And, we gave him a little bit of a history of the car. And it's the subsequent one to the Muppet car. But it's within the realm of all the research I've been doing. So I just happen to know a lot about the Studebaker, that era of Studebakers. We saw some really unusual cars. Like there was a car that was a Crown Victoria that a woman owned. In fact, they had one whole section of cars that were just female-owned cars. That was really great, and the cars were really creative and a lot more hot roddy than we often give women credit for. And this one was a Crown Victoria, which is the type of car that you would see as a town car in the 80s and 90s, or more commonly as a police vehicle.
He's true.
Yeah, and they were super easy to get your hands on. Because they got auctioned off by a lot of police things. And so she took hers, painted it white and gold, and added some cool filigree to it, made it very fancy, did like sort of a sunset graphic thing on the back of the trunk area. And then she changed the doors to suicide doors. So you could open the front and back doors simultaneously, like redid the interior. Absolutely beautiful. And she won a prize, which was really great because we really liked her car. There were all sorts of really neat stuff going on there. And it's a show. It takes us hours to get there. We leave Jeff's house at 2:30. I leave my house like at 1 or 1:30. Get to Jeff's house by 2:30. In Orange, and then we get down to El Cajon, which is just past like Oceanside and Legoland and all that kind of thing. We get down there by 4:30. It's a long day of driving. It's really tough. So.
And then you have to drive home.
And then I got to drive home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was fun. So anyway, we had a really good time. And that was a lot of fun. And then I had a great time with Colleen at Disneyland on Tuesday.
Yeah, that was fun. It was my last trip before my pass is blacked out for the summer season. And it was really low-key. We just popped in and went over to Galaxy's Edge and looked in a couple of the shops. And then we popped over to DCA to get ice cream because they have a Ghirardelli location over there.
Right. Good ice cream.
And we ate entirely too much ice cream. I felt sort of sick because we each wanted something different. And
we probably should have shared something.
Yeah.
I think.
But the thing that I wanted was 2 scoops of ice cream plus like hot fudge and everything else. And so even though I didn't eat all of it, I still ate too much of it. And then the line for what is it? Spider-Verse.
Web Slingers.
Web Slingers, which is a pretty new ride. The line was only a half an hour, so we jumped in that line, and it turned out that they had some sort of an error, and the line was really 45 minutes. Disney's usually the other way around. Usually they have a longer wait time than you actually wait.
Right.
But while we were waiting in line...
This one just grew and grew and grew. It was really bad.
And the time went up to like 75 minutes, and I think it was like at 90 or something by the time we left.
So here you go. Here's a few. Whoops! It went away. What did I do? I touched it. Some pictures of our trip. The obligatory picture in front of the castle. And Colleen did some bounty hunting, and this is her trying to score her bounty in Galaxy's Edge, which was pretty cool. And then every time I go to Galaxy's Edge, I notice something else. This is like a rainbow-colored spire, which was nuts. Did you have a comment about your bounty hunting?
No, I had to clear my throat.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a neat mic turn-off thing the way that you do.
Oh, I didn't do it either. So they're starting to make changes to the Pixar area of California Adventure, which is there's a section that's becoming San Francisco Square, and so they're going to do a tie-in with Big Hero 6, and in fact they've also had a casting notice out to have somebody play Hero, which is really fun. And we expect that we'll see Baymax show up somewhere there. And so this was right across from where we were eating ice cream at Giardelli, and then we went on Web Slingers, which was really fun, and because the whole Web Slinger line, which I'm sort of flipping through here really quick, is really neat and textured and awesome. So
I have so much. I have not been to either park in like 2.5 years.
Yeah, which is about. I think we were there.
Well, if it was 2.5 years, then it was longer than 2.5 years. Have you been there since the pandemic lifted?
No,
So,
I have not been. I have not been on Rise of the Resistance. I've missed so much.
So it's
that
more than
means
3
you haven't.
years.
Yeah, you haven't been there in more than 3 years.
That's crazy.
So wow.
But yeah, I still like Avengers Campus. I just wish they would do a little more there. There's a ride that's supposed to be in this building that has a Quinjet on top of it, and then they seem to have canned that.
Well, they did. They canned a lot of stuff in both lands.
Yeah, it's a real.
I mean, like
real
in
bummer.
Galaxy's Edge, there was supposed to be a sit-down restaurant.
Right, which it very much needs. They're teasing Rogers the Musical, which of course we saw in Hawkeye. We saw a big production number from that.
It had a sign on it that said it's opening on June 30th.
Yes, it's coming soon. And this Hyperion is a legit theater. It is huge. We've seen a whole bunch of shows in there over the years, most notably the Aladdin show, which ran for 15 years in this theater before it was replaced with Frozen. And this Rogers the Musical, apparently they're going to flesh out the whole thing and do like a half-hour long show, I guess. And it'll be fun. I'm kind of looking forward to it because I haven't seen anything in that theater for a long time.
It's the story that needs to be told.
Right. And although I still have a beef with them, we play the song from this on the station quite a bit, and I play it on my show from time to time. And the song is like, I don't know, Save New York. It's got some dumb name like that. Save the City, I think is what it's called. And in reality, it should be called I Could Do This All Day. And I'm like, who named this song? Come on.
Yeah.
It was really funny. We went to our favorite restroom, which is the one that's modeled after the Frank Lloyd Wright Storer house. So somebody told me a story that I thought was really interesting about this. So what I'm showing is a brick right now that's a Frank Lloyd Wright design. There are several houses here in L.A. that are made of these textile blocks. And so this is one of them, the Storer house. And then Gene, in fact, and Colleen and Jeff and I went up to the Ennis Brown house and took pictures in front of that house, which was used in The Rocketeer and Blade Runner, and it's a very sci-fi kind of house. And so they only did like 4 of these things, and I think most of them are here in L.A. And this particular one was owned by Joel Silver, so movie producers, and lots of movies. And apparently Michael Eisner is such a petty weenie that he decided, since Joel Silver was one of his chief movie-making competitors when he worked for like Paramount and then for Disney, he's like, well, let's make the Joel Silver's house into the bathroom. And then, ha ha ha, we can go to the bathroom on Joel Silver's house. But in reality, it's really cool. And nobody knows this dumb story. and how petty Michael Eisner is.
Well, we do now.
Right, but the architecture is just super neat, and so every time we go by the bathroom, it just makes us smile because it's like, oh, cool, Frank Lloyd Wright, and it's such an L.A. fixture that it makes sense. It's in California Adventure. It's hysterical, and it's just kind of
Yeah,
weird.
I love those bathrooms. Those
Yeah,
are my
me
favorite
too.
bathrooms.
And this was us. This was our Disney bound. This is us at the end of the night. We're on our way back.
The porcelain fixture.
What did you say?
What about the porcelain?
It's a fixture, but is it a porcelain fixture?
No, in this
No.
case, it was cement. So,
Okay.
but and we just happened to catch the fireworks on the way back to the parking structure, which was great. And
I love the Disney fireworks.
well,
I
and
just-
it's neat. Like the picture I'm showing now shows it shows fireworks over top of the palm trees, and they sort of mirror each other. And it's just kind of neat to see, because we're used to seeing the fireworks over the castle, or It's a Small World, or something in the park. This is so far removed from the park. There was a 2-second delay from when the fireworks exploded to when the sound hit us.
Right.
Because we were at the parking structure, pretty far removed from the park. But their finale was just so nuts. I took this same exact picture of the same exact firework sequence from inside Galaxy's Edge, and it looked exactly the same. It really looks like a special effects shot of like a TIE fighter exploding or something like that. It's so bright and has such a hot center to it. It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, we had a really great trip. Lots and lots of fun. And I don't know, we may. So our anniversary is coming up in July. And of course, we do want to spend it inside the park. Colleen won't be able to get a reservation. We might have to throw ourselves on the mercy of one of our cast member friends to see if they can sign her in at least. I can get in. Colleen can't get in.
Kelly wants to know what bathroom we were talking about. Kelly, it's the one in California Adventure, in the Hollywood section?
It's on Buena Vista Street. And I'll flip back to you'll know it when you see the
brick.
The brick. Although if she's driving.
No, she's not driving
Oh,
anymore.
okay.
She got home.
So it's the one that's entirely made up of these bricks, and they light up also in the dark sections. Those light up, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty neat thing. I have to say, for all of its failings with California Adventure when it got its start, mostly because Michael Eisner was a bonehead, DCA's really fleshed out into a pretty good park. And I think once they got over the idea that and again, it was a stupid idea, if you go to California Adventure, you're not going to want to go anywhere else in California because you will have had the California experience at their theme park. It was a stupid idea. But since they've embraced a lot of their licensees and things, and they now have Avengers, and they have the Pixar Pier and Little Mermaids over there, and a lot of the rides have rethemed to various characters and stuff. I think it's kind of found its own, kind of niche, and it's not trying to replace California; it's augmenting it.
Yeah. I can go with that. Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
Laura tells us that the type of firework that you showed is called a chrysanthemum.
Oh, right on.
I didn't know.
I worked briefly with Magic Mountain on setting up fireworks. They didn't have any names like that. That was also like 40 years ago or something like that.
It was just, in those days, it's just load them up and light them up.
Right.
And Kelly, not only can you see the fireworks from Galaxy's Edge, you can stand in front of Docking Bay 7, the restaurant, which is closed by that time at night at 9:30, and you can watch the fireworks happen over the Millennium Falcon between the spires.
It's very loud, though.
It's really loud, and they warn you. They tell you in advance that it's going to be crazy loud because it is about the closest you've ever been to where they launch the fireworks off from in the park, because they launch them from backstage, and it's kind of like on the other side of Galaxy's Edge. And then if you walk over to the Resistance base, you can still see them over the marketplace, But if you walk over to, I don't remember what the docking bay is, 9 maybe, where the First Order is, the sort of First Order base. That TIE fighter over there, that is, you can see the fireworks over top of that, and then you can also see the ones that they shoot in front of the castle behind you, which you can't really see from where you are if you're over by the Millennium Falcon. So, all told, it turns out to be a pretty good place to watch fireworks, with the exception of none of the Nito projections that they do on anything. Like the projections on the castle or the projections there's on Small World aren't there, of course. And there's no music. It's just fireworks. So, if you want that kind of 4th of July experience, you don't care about the show that they're putting on, you just want to see fireworks, it's a really great place to see them from.
Lori said she can see them from her porch.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think she said that a couple weeks ago, and it was like...
Fireworks every night from your porch. That's really something.
That's got to get old, though.
Well, and I don't know how close Lori is, but I have heard tell of people who have lived close enough to the park that because of the inconvenience of the fireworks shows, they get a set of tickets every summer to go to the park to sort of like ease
Make
that
up for all the ash on their car.
Yeah, it's sort of a what do you call it? The consolation prize.
Right. We're sorry. We dumped all this ash in your convertible. Here, have some.
Right.
What did you do this weekend, Gene? This past week? Anything exciting?
Last week, well, for the last 3 weeks, I've been making 15 to 20-second shorts, TikTok shorts for Sci-Fi Radio. So that's been fun.
I've seen those with your coffee cup and sound effects in the background and stuff.
So they've been going out on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook and Twitter and
Wow.
Sweet.
on.
Did you just say wow to who's on the...
I did.
Right.
I'm sorry, Gene.
Yeah, a friend of ours that we haven't seen for a while, I officiated his wedding in Yosemite. They had a beautiful wedding in Yosemite. We had a great time hanging out, but we live on opposite coasts now, which is terrible. Our friend Brian, that I used to work with at the game company, is watching. And it's like, hi. There's a whole crew of people I don't talk to from back then. I always feel really bad that I don't talk to them very much.
Well, and he's tuned in on Twitch instead of Facebook, so that's
awesome.
Interesting.
Cool. And so I've been running those little videos for about 3 weeks, and we got a 25% jump in our listener base.
Wow.
That's great.
That's great.
So I have to come up with another, set up another shoot and shoot some more of them.
Well, and that's what the whole Nerdy 30 is supposed to do too. I just have to get off my butt and make it happen. I've been writing.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. Nerdy 30 is supposed to be like a 30-second, for those watching. Nerdy 30 was Sean's idea, and we were going to do 30-second news spots.
Yeah, it's birthdays and history and movies that came out. Like today, for example, is considered Ghostbusters Day, because this is the day in 1984 that Ghostbusters was released. And in fact, not only did it release today, Gremlins released on this day in 1984, and the Val Kilmer comedy movie Top Secret released on this day. And
isn't it like National Brain Hemorrhage Day or something silly?
It was, yeah. It was also National Brain Hemorrhage Day, which is like, or brain tumor day or something.
National Brain Tumor Day,
which is not as cool as National Best Friends Day, which is also what today is. So
about brain tumors.
Yeah, it was really crazy.
Oh, and then this weekend I got an invite to go to a Fandom Charities event. Whedonopolis. There was going to be a WhedonCon this year, and there just wasn't enough steam.
Are they still called Whedonopolis? Because I heard they were going to change their name.
Yeah, they were going to call it the Hellmouth. Which
right.
I don't think it's any particularly more appealing.
Right. Well, but the whole reason is that like Joss Whedon kind of fell out of favor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is what happens when you hang your hat on on a single celebrity, and that single celebrity turns out to be a
Well, and the problem is though is that he has an entire universe worth hanging your thing on.
yeah, that's true.
But when something shows up and it turns out that the guy who writes incredibly strong, amazing women is kind of a jerk towards women in reality, that's a problem.
Yeah, they did a table read of his Wonder Woman script, and it was the most misogynistic nightmare you've ever heard.
No,
It's so bizarre.
that hurts. Yeah, it hurts because
Yeah.
I actually like Joss Whedon's writing. He's very talented.
Yeah, but this was like, she does a sultry dance, and tries to Rogers, and
Sure.
what? No, this has nothing to do with the character.
Well, you got to be careful because we've also had Star Trek movies where Uhura does a sultry dance. So
Yes, it was part of the plot. It was, and this was just gratuitous.
oh, okay.
It's just gratuitous. Anyway, I was going to that event, and I would love to have gone, but for the fact that I am going to be, we are all going to Victor and Anita's wedding, and that's going to be on this Saturday. They're calling it Wedding Con,
Wedding.
Right.
Nice.
so they
That'll be really fun.
play
Like to
D&D.
hear back about how that goes.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have been to a couple of wedding cons, and we have been to Wedding the LARP. Somebody ran their. Actually, we know a couple people who've run their weddings as LARPs. David and Sarah being the most recent. So yeah, that's. I love geek weddings. They're always a blast.
And then the last thing that I did, which I just got through this morning, it's like last minute terror nightmare upgrade situation. I was moving the fandom charities websites. They have a new one called 6 Degrees of Geek, and I was moving that website over onto our sci-fi.radio server because they were using AWS, and AWS was charging them $400 a month for a website.
Oh, that's uncool.
That's uncool. It didn't used to be that way. They had a discount for charity, and the charity and that discount was covering like $400, and then the next year it covered $300, and the next year it covered $200, and then stopped.
That's why I don't go to Anime Expo anymore, because Anime Expo used to let us do charity fundraising there, and then they came through one day. Well, we were doing it. We were in a booth that they had assigned to us, and we were doing this. We were raising money for like Make-A-Wish or something, and then they kicked us all out. They're like, "Oh, we don't do charity anymore." And we're like, "What now?" Yeah, and then they told our Metal Bikini Leia cosplayer, who, if there ever was a celebrity who was the Metal Bikini cosplayer, was her. They told her that her costume was too sexy to be there, as like a whole bunch of 16-year-olds walked by in little cotton G-string panties and a crop top. And I'm like, seriously? And we pointed at them and we're like, the underage girls in their underpants are okay, but the 30-year-old metal bikini is not okay. It was really bad. It was really bad. And so we don't even deal with those guys anymore. We're like, you lose.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was moving the website over to our server, and I had apparently cleaned up everything and gotten everything working except for the TV Campfire podcast, which had 580 episodes.
Whoa.
The Amazon server, and I had missed picking them up.
Oh no.
And fortunately, the producer, Libya Alameen, had backup copies of all of them. And she uploaded them all to the server. And then I configured a new FTP account so that she could do that. And then it was all listed through the 6 Degrees of Geek website. But the old 6 Degrees of Geek website had references to the podcasts that were sort of pointing all over the place in places that no longer existed.
Yeah.
And I had to download the brains of the database, the internal database listing, edit the locations by hand and without breaking anything else, and then upload them and getting the iTunes feed and all of the other podcasts feeds working again by the next morning.
That is a lot less fun than going to Disneyland.
It is a lot less fun. It's kind of rocket surgery. I mean, basically, you know, this isn't just retyping a bunch of labels. It's like sticking your fingers in the website's frontal lobe.
I hate doing web design. I used to do it for a living. Absolutely hate it. Never need to go back.
This is all command line stuff.
Yeah.
You know, engine parts.
Yeah. We used to do all our web pages in Notepad. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
But I got it all working, and
Cool.
yeah, it just we got the iTunes feed to update, I think, at 1 p.m.
Wow.
So
I need to do something about making sure that Docking Bay 94 gets sent over to iTunes. It's one of those things that, like, we get started on it and then we get distracted and we get started on it. We get distracted.
I have a site set up for you specifically to do that.
Great. Let's talk about that offline so we can make sure that we go out as a podcast too.
Yes,
that would
very,
be
very
great.
important. Very important.
Well, let's move on and talk about Star Wars then.
You know, we were talking about consolation prizes of a sort, and this week, and I didn't get to see any of it. I didn't watch any of it, which made me really sad. But this week was Star Wars week on Wheel of Fortune.
Was?
Yeah, but and so they made
They forgot to advertise it.
They made an absolutely huge deal about finding Star Wars fans to be on it, and then they never really promoted it that it was going to be, you know, Star Wars week. I mean, I guess if you watch the show, then yay. But like my Facebook feed was filled with, you know, submit your tape to be on Star Wars week, which I tried to do. I recorded a video and the whole deal, and I tried to do it, and their page wouldn't take it, and I gave up after a week of trying. And surprisingly, I didn't seem to really know anybody who made it on the show, because nobody's like, oh my God, watch me on whatever. Yeah, it was strange. And I'm not entirely sure that the show had, like, fans' best interests at heart, because,
They
like,
never do.
one of the questions, one of the puzzles, turned out to be camping outside of the theater. That was the puzzle you had to solve. And, of course, that's a really big part of Star Wars fandom, as you and I both know, Gene. We've both done that. And it's like, it was just so weird. And they're like, oh, here's, like, the New York Post ran a thing. It's like, Star Wars fans totally screw up Wheel of Fortune because they couldn't get the puzzle. It was like they weren't thinking about that aspect of fandom as they were trying to solve the puzzle. I got it right away. Colleen got it right away.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, I guess you didn't. Okay.
No.
I did. I got it right away. And so that was...
Because I was looking for it to be something from the movie.
Right.
And so I was
and I think that's what
projecting
the
that
fans were
onto
doing,
it.
too.
Yeah.
And anyway, they... It was cheesy. Like, they had Pat and Vanna doing lightsaber training. I think my friend Sal did the lightsaber training. He showed up as a Jedi and taught them how to use a lightsaber for the show. And, of course, like, Vanna's grabbing it by the blade. I'm like, don't do that, Vanna. That's how you lose your fingers. Come on. Let's, you know. It's like, would you do that if you were learning something with a sword? What if it was Pirates of the Caribbean week? Would you grab the blade? Don't grab the blade. And I think another friend of mine, Mike, I think he was operating a droid on the set, which was fun. But I kept forgetting to watch. I didn't tape any of it. All I've seen are like highlight stuff. And I saw more from another friend who happened to be on The Price is Right and won a bunch of stuff than I saw about this whole Star Wars week thing. It's really a bummer. So that was kind of dumb. It's like, huh? It's not on our list here. I just thought I'd kind of get it out of the way because it was like it's really dorky thing that, like, I would have tuned in. It's like the thing that would have got me to watch Wheel of Fortune.
Alrighty then.
Not so much. In Star Wars birthdays, 6/3/1930, Morris Bush was born. He's probably best known for being one of 5 bounty hunters who showed up on the Star Destroyer for Darth Vader, and Darth Vader was trying to find the Millennium Falcon. He was Dengar. He was a guy wearing purple stormtrooper armor. He looks like he'd been through a lot. And he kind of had a weird turban thing on his face. He always looked like he'd just gotten back from the dentist and had a tooth pulled to me. But, we bought his action figure anyway because he looked pretty badass. And so as an actor, he'd had a pretty long career where he was in like Inspector Morse. He's credited for Return of the Jedi, although I don't remember seeing Dengar in Return of the Jedi. And he did a whole bunch of like British productions prior to Star Wars.
But I started wearing trousers and corrected that situation.
Corrected which situation?
Looking badass.
Looking badass, right. Well, there's a difference between looking badass and having a badass.
Yeah, that is a difference.
Right. Mary Kay Bergman was born. I don't know why I'm dinging over here. Was born on the 5th of this month in 1961. She is a longtime voice actress who did all sorts of stuff. Her Star Wars credits are that she was a whole bunch of character voices in Episode 1, the Phantom Menace video game. She was the voice of Daphne in a bunch of Scooby-Doo films. She was in Toy Story 2, Iron Giant, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan. Sadly, she became a cautionary tale when we found out that she had committed suicide in 1999. The thing that was just so shocking is she was having a phenomenal career, always busy. Everybody wanted her to be in their productions and stuff. Depression got the better of her. So, like I said, cautionary tale, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down or whatever, don't go that way. Give us a buzz, call us. All my information's on Facebook. Call me, call a professional, whatever you do. Don't go the way that Mary Kay Bergman. She was a doll, and it was just a terrible way to go.
I think more importantly, if the voices in your head tell you that you're not good enough and that nobody wants you, double check with us.
Right. Exactly.
Just, if you go to a doctor, you get a second opinion. If your internal voice tells you you're not good enough, get a second opinion.
Well, because the people outside your head probably have a better perspective.
Yeah.
This day in Star Wars history, the 7th of this month in 1977, Kenner Products struck a deal with 20th Century Fox and the Star Wars Corporation to make toys. And the industry was never the same.
And they got filthy, filthy rich.
They did. And so when I worked for Mattel Toys and Playmates Toys, we tried to get the license for the reissue of Star Wars action figures. And so this was like 1993, 92, 93. We made a whole bunch of prototype figures. We pitched to Lucasfilm and said, these are the great things we do. And our sculpts were amazing. Our toy ideas were phenomenal. All this like really great stuff. And what it really boiled down to is that Kenner had made them so much money, they just stuck with Kenner. And then inevitably Hasbro, when Hasbro purchased Kenner. Because basically, they built Skywalker Ranch. They made George so rich that they just went, let's just keep going. The Kenner guys. And then they took all our cool ideas and ripped them off, which was pretty funny. Colleen, we'd be walking the toy aisle, and Colleen's like, don't we have that toy in our house? I'm like, yeah, we have the prototype in our house. 2010, on the 4th of June, Star Wars Adidas ad, which re-edited the Cantina scene, was done on StarWars.com as a promo for Adidas. It featured Snoop Dogg, David Beckham, and a whole bunch of other things. I think even Weird Al Yankovic was in that, doing, hanging out at the Cantina, auditioning for musician stuff, and it was pretty funny. Lucas did an interview with Rolling Stone magazine about the cult of Darth Vader in 2014 on the 2nd of this month. Vader really was, it turned out, the center of his particular Star Wars universe. It was all about Luke Skywalker up until the prequels, and then it became all about Darth Vader. And so if there's a cult of Vader, it's all George's doing.
Dun, dun, dun.
I actually felt like, just as a personal aside, I felt like George demystified Vader too much. Showed us he was a whiny little kid and a whiny teenager and a whiny adult. It took the mystery out of it, and it really wasn't until Rogue One where we saw Darth Vader come back and just take on everybody in the Tantive 4 trying to get the Death Star plans that you kind of went, okay, Vader's back.
It's like what they did with the Superman family and the Batman family in the late 60s.
Right,
right. Like, what are you going to do? Darth Vader, his wife Ella, their sons Taxi and Drafty. Where were you going to go with this?
Right.
In further news of people who we haven't seen in a long time, Michael Wine says hi.
Oh my gosh, hey.
Hi to you, Michael Wine.
Michael Wine, who is an absolutely exceptional model builder, which was not a thing that I knew when we all did Renaissance Fair and stuff together. And maybe wasn't building models at that point. But it's really great to see all the stuff he posts on Facebook. Terrific dioramas, great vehicles, stuff that he's building. It's all really amazing. And I think he's winning awards for it.
Wow.
Which is even better. So, yeah, super cool.
AV Club has an article saying that Taika Waititi hasn't really done much more on his Star Wars script.
Well, he's a busy guy.
Yeah. It's sort of a vague article that is weird. Because it's just like, oh, Taika Waititi Star Wars script sure sounds like a script.
Sounds like a script,
but it
right.
isn't any farther than it was the last time we talked about it.
So, as going back to June 2022, which is I think the last time we really talked about it, he's trying to write it. He's got some ideas. But if you're Taika Waititi, one, you have a short attention span, and two, everybody wants you involved in their project. And so you get pulled to the left, to the right, all of this kind of stuff. He's always busy. He's always doing something. He was a voice in Lightyear. He was doing...
I have to say that I was shocked when I sat down to watch Our Flag Means Death with my mom, and my mom had never heard of Taika Waititi. I was
See, that's weird.
But he's in everything.
That's just weird. He's writing and directing Time Bandits for Apple TV. And he's got another couple projects in the works. And so... But Kathleen Kennedy says it's still going to happen. So as long as she says it's still going to happen, I believe her.
And continuing in the theme of articles that...
Are placeholders?
Yeah. Variety put out an article that says, Mark Hamill says Star Wars doesn't need Luke Skywalker anymore. I just don't see any reason to play him again.
He's not wrong, although...
Right.
Luke came
playing Luke Skywalker anymore.
He,
I think Star Wars will always need Luke Skywalker.
Right. I think he also says, if you read further down the article, he says that they shouldn't do more motion capture de-aging.
Right.
That they should just hire an age-appropriate actor.
Which actually the guy who played him as the body double looks like him. He's not. I don't know if he can act, because that's key, of course.
They did have someone age-appropriate play him in the Obi-Wan TV show.
Right. Yes. Well. Well, and everybody wants Sebastian Stan to take him on.
Yeah, because with the right haircut and a little clever makeup, he just looks like a ringer for
I think the big problem is that he's like a foot taller than Mark Hamill is. Mark Hamill's like 5'7", and
So they put Brooke Shields in a ditch for Blue Lagoon.
for the
They
Blue
could
Lagoon,
put,
right?
What's his name with the one arm?
With
Sebastian Stan.
right,
Right.
with the one arm, right?
Well, in Marvel, he has one arm.
I thought this was an interesting story, mostly because I want to see this movie. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, and he's got a new movie out called Asteroid City, which is very mid-century modern in its vibe. It's like this crazy pastel saturated environment, and apparently really influenced by Star Wars.
Well, he said that the title of the article is, or the headline is, "Unfortunately for Wes Anderson, his 7-year-old has heard about Star Wars." And as soon as his 7-year-old heard about Star Wars, that was all they wanted to see. And so that's why it had such an influence on Asteroid City.
Well, apparently also his daughter loves Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yes.
Which I think is largely because it's children running rampant.
Meet Me in St. Louis is a weird film, though.
Meet Me in
If
St.
you-
Louis is a horror movie at its heart.
Yeah, the little girl in that is really
I know it's got
interesting.
Judy Garland singing in it, but
Right.
I mean, honestly, the whole Halloween scene where they're burning stuff and destroying, it's
Yeah, and
creepy
the
as heck.
kid, the 7-year-old buries all her dolls in the backyard.
Right, yeah. Wednesday Addams, eat your heart out.
Right.
But I do want to see Asteroid City. It looks pretty good.
Well, we have tickets for Asteroid City, so
We do?
will be. Yes.
Okay.
You don't remember me talking to you about that?
I don't.
We're going to an Asteroid City preview where we're going to get to go on like a walkthrough.
That's right. That's right. It's a whole walkthrough
Yeah,
experience.
So we'll
Yeah.
be reporting on that.
I forgot about that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We're going to have to dress appropriately.
I don't know what that will look like, but okay.
Well, I mean, we just need mid-century modern stuff, like 1955 Day at Disneyland. We can wear that kind of stuff.
Right, except I've gained all this weight.
I won't tell if you don't.
No, my clothing will tell. That's the problem. All right. Anything else about Star Wars before we move on?
I still like it. Happy birthday to Kathleen Kennedy, who had a birthday this past week. I spent a fair amount of time defending her because people don't understand what her job really is.
I mean, you can put some of that on the fact that nobody knows what producers do.
Right. But
It's all very mystical.
she's a producer. What it really boils down to,
In case anybody doesn't know, I'm a producer.
right? What it really boils down to is that Kathleen Kennedy has worked on most of the movies you have loved growing up. Back to the Future series, she did that. Indiana Jones, she did that. Gremlins, E.T., on and on and on and on and on. The Goonies. Pick a movie you like. Hook. She probably produced it either solo or with her husband Frank Marshall or with Steven Spielberg. She founded the Amblin Company with Steven Spielberg. She is the second most prolific producer, only to Steven Spielberg, whom she worked with closely. So the reality of it is that she's helped facilitate all of these amazing movies that you like. And so a producer is a person who works with the talent on set, is down on the ground, boots on the ground, making stuff happen. An executive producer is the person who's doing that behind the scenes with resources and funding and that kind of thing. That's the difference between an executive producer and an actual producer. On paper, it doesn't always work out that way. Like Colleen's a producer and she does all of these things.
Well, I don't do the. I am
Well,
definitely not an executive producer.
There are two titles in Hollywood that have job descriptions that are so fuzzy that a lot of times nobody knows what they mean. One of them is technical director, and the other one is executive producer.
Right. Well, because they...
But I feel like executive producer is pretty. Well, I guess a lot of people get the executive producer title if they're a star.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, or they're like they're a major investor in the film,
Yeah.
right.
and they get it that way, or they own the property, or they're
Yeah.
related in some way to the property that they're attached to. Like Roddenberry is an executive producer on Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Do they consult him? Do they tell him what's going on? No. Does
Maybe,
he?
maybe not. Yeah.
No. He just gets money. That's it.
Yeah.
I want to just get money.
Me too. Sign me up. So yeah, so it's an interesting
Real working
thing
executive producer and the real working producers, and then there are the people who get the titles because they're they're party favorites.
because it's convenient to the production, right?
Because it does a disservice. That's a real disservice to the people who are doing the actual work.
Well, and in the case of Kathleen Kennedy, a lot of people are mad at her. They say she's ruining Star Wars, but she's not the creative end of things.
No, she's not.
Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. There's an
They
11
don't like
person.
her because she's a girl.
Yeah, that's a problem too. There's an 11-person Lucasfilm story group that plots out a lot of stuff. Go take your beef to them, But the person who's bringing you the Mandalorian and this Ahsoka show that's coming out, and the Obi-Wan show that happened, and all of that kind of stuff. That's Kathy Kennedy too. The stuff that you like, you can't like hate her and like the stuff she's putting out. So you gotta mellow out. Anyway, she turned 70, and regardless of all the hate, her movies have been nominated for 225 Academy Awards.
It's insane.
Right? So obviously she's doing her job right.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's all I'm going to say.
So,
Sean, you
Colleen,
wanna
I see here on the show notes for theme parks.
Before we get to
hang on
that,
just a
Gene,
second, Gene.
let's handle the top of the hour. You were listening to us on sci-fi.radio. It is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. This show is here every Thursday. And if you want to know about the other shows you can check out, go to sci-fi.radio. The name of the station is also our convenient URL, and you can look up all of the different shows that we've got going on. We just added this weekend the original Flash Gordon radio serial, which is really fun and very, very quaint, removed by about 85 years, because, like, the big threat is that Ming the Merciless is going to marry Dale Arden. It's like, oh my God. Which is pretty funny. But anyway, look at the schedule. You can figure out the time for that. I think it's 1 p.m. on Saturdays. And
1 a.m. and 1 p.m. 1 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Pacific on Saturdays.
nice. So that's kind of fun. Plus all the other shows. I've got my morning show that we do, which is Good Morning Tatooine. And Gene has his show that he does that is called The Event Horizon, where they do interviews and that's 4 p.m. Pacific on Saturday and Sundays. Do all that. Or if you are not listening to us over on sci-fi.radio, you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch. Any of those things is acceptable. If you can find a way to like or subscribe or do whatever, that lets us know that you were there. So please do that. We're always grateful to know that you guys have been tuning in.
And we do remind you that sci-fi.radio is listener-supported science fiction radio and the only station of its kind in the world. And if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it, go to patreon.com/sci-fi radio and pledge $5 or $10 a month. It would really help us out.
Or you can click the button over at sci-fi.radio and make that happen. It's the first button that shows up on the page. And when Gene says, the world, he's not kidding. Right now, United States, Russia, France, Australia, Canada, Estonia, and Germany are all tuned in. So, and that's just the radio side of things. We don't even know where people are watching us from on any of the other stuff. But that's just the radio station, which is pretty great stuff. So, anyway, thanks. Now we can talk about theme parks.
Yeah, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, I was just looking at this headline.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
I said, it can't mean what it says. Headless guest forces emergency stop aboard high-speed roller coaster.
Yeah.
So if you click through to the article, they've
changed
the
the
headline
headline.
to "Guest Forces Emergency Stop Aboard High-Speed Roller Coaster." And then just below that, it says, "Park goers were stranded under the blazing sun after a guest headlessly forced an emergency stop aboard a high-speed roller coaster."
We think they mean heedlessly.
They were
Heedlessly.
apparently taking
That's a-
video
that's
with their phone.
Right.
That is a very critical conjunction.
But the problem is, and so like if you read the comments, they're like, do you mean heedless? Because a guest without a head seems like plenty of reason to stop a ride.
Right.
And everybody's just ripping them apart in the comments for saying headless because it looked like such.
And what's
clickbait.
funny is that they changed the headline, but they didn't change the subline.
No.
Did
They didn't the excerpt.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really awful.
Yeah, this is just I don't know, clickbait opportunism.
Well,
maybe?
and so this site is really borderline for actual news. It's called Inside the Magic. They cover Disney pretty exclusively, but the problem being is that a lot of their articles do lean heavy on the clickbait side of things, and that is the flack that they're taking in their comments for this article, which is
Yeah.
nuts.
but it probably did work wonders for their numbers.
Right. And the reality though of the article is that they did stop a ride mid drop.
It wasn't mid drop. The emergency stop
mid-climb
was
is
at
actually what I meant.
Cedar Point in
Yeah.
Ohio, and it was climbing up the big hill just
Yeah.
before the giant drop, and they stopped it close to the 2/3 of the way up that spot.
Yeah.
And then sent a cast member up who had to climb all those stairs to the front row and take the phone away from the guest who was videoing the ride with their phone up in the air.
What a maroon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
maroon cartoon. What kind of an idiot does something like that?
Well,
I guess,
it is the YouTube, TikTok, Facebook Reels generation. That's everybody's got to have video or it didn't happen, and you have to have video of you doing it or it didn't happen.
like the people taking that exciting video of them jumping off the cliff and then remembering they forgot their parachute.
Well, yeah,
They find their phone 3 months later.
that's a completely different clickbait article, which is here's the last video of everyone who died doing a TikTok
something.
stunt.
Right.
But yeah, that was pretty bad stuff.
And the only Disney news we have today is that they updated the Disney 100 treats. And I don't know, Sean, whether you want to do your whole thing that you normally do where you share the picture.
Yeah, here's some video over here, or here's some
Video?
some images.
Oh,
over here
images. Okay.
on the video, and some of them look kind of okay. Some of them kind of make me scratch my head.
Well, what's interesting, and I'd actually be interested in trying this,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't normally want to try things from Hungry Bear, but they've got a burger that is, and I would only want to try half of this because it's super, gross. Anyway, it's got the bottom of the burger, and then it's got a deep fried potato plank,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's got a burger, and then another deep fried potato plank, and then Velveeta sauce with bacon in it, and then the top bun.
Right, it's the thing I'm showing a picture of right now.
Right. So it looks completely over the top, and there's no way I would be able to eat a whole one of these.
I would split one with you,
Yeah.
just for the sensation of it to see what it is.
Yeah. I could eat a whole one of the next image, though, which
The
is
lemon chiffon
the
pie?
lemon chiffon pie from the
Yeah.
Plaza Inn.
That looks pretty good.
I'm a fan.
Graham cracker crust and whatnot.
And I do not wish to have the refreshment corner's violet pretzel, or a violent pretzel either.
Right. Well, what's the drink that looks like it's got a piece of bacon, like blue bacon,
That
strapped
is a
across it?
sparkling grape Sprite with grape syrup topped with a candy strip. And it really looks like they called that one in.
Yeah, it looks like, hey, What are we going to do with all this fruit by the foot?
But
Let's drape it over the drink.
scroll down to see what they've got at the Tropical Hideaway.
And can I say, if your bacon looks blue, it's probably not good. I love this. What is it? It's a little.
It's a little.
boat.
It's a Dole Whip boat.
It's like a Jungle Cruise Dole Whip boat.
Yeah.
But you don't eat the
But it's got to be like
Dole Whip out of it.
$25 or $30 for that thing.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But super cute.
Yeah, they've got some nice sippers that are pretty good. The thermo tumbler is what they're calling this thing. I do like the sort of Gatsby Art Deco vibe that just about everything seems to have for the 100th anniversary.
And I liked the 40th anniversary art for Japan as well.
Yeah, actually, that was really good.
I do have to say that I am not interested in trying the French onion dip pizza.
No, it looks gross.
It's really
It's disgusting.
They took barbecue chicken pizza and threw a slice of roast beef on it.
Grossing me out here. And I like pizza.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gene.
I got a 100th anniversary something. This special edition poison apple.
Oh, you got
you got one.
You got the mug. Excellent.
Nice.
Somebody asked me to pick one of those up and send it to Paris. I really need to get off the stick.
They apparently they came out. They were at the Disney shops at the before you go into the park, and they sold out in like a day.
Yeah, the churro carts had them, and so they finally came back to the churro cart in Fantasyland. I did pick one up for my friend in Paris. In fact, I have a spare if anybody needs one. Because I ended up with 2.
I'll eat those eggs Benedict from the Lamplight Lounge.
I'm going to stick to the desserts. The Pacific Wharf Cafe has a truffle. Could be interesting.
But sadly, I'm not going to get any of these for a couple months.
Yeah, I don't think they'll travel well if I get them for you.
No.
I could bring them
Not
home,
at
but
all.
whatever.
But if we had read this article before Tuesday,
Right, that would
then
have been.
we could have done
good.
that.
As not like we didn't eat enough there anyway.
Right. Well, we ate ice cream.
We ate ice cream and we were so full.
Yeah.
Super full.
Trailers. I'm going to assume that since poor Gene didn't have access to the document in advance, that he didn't get a chance to see any of the trailers.
I saw some of them.
Oh, good.
Did you see My Adventures with Superman? That sounds like your...
Specifically, I saw that.
Right.
It's funny, and I might be wrong, but first of all, this is going to be on Adult Swim and Max.
Right.
Or maybe Adult Swim is on Max.
Adult Swim is on Max.
Yeah, so it's going to be on Max. It's a series, and it starts on July 6th. My take on it was that it was geared towards junior high age kids.
Maybe.
But if it's on Adult Swim, is it really, and on Max, is it really for kids?
I think the tone is very light and bright and airy, and they bring, it's like Superman first coming to Metropolis and figuring out how to be Superman and learning how to control his powers so that he doesn't break things.
It's very young.
Fun.
It's very young adult.
Yeah, it
and
is.
It has an anime look to it. I'll run the image in the background here. It looks like a full anime, production, but it also has a Smallville vibe. It looks like it's really aimed at like the tween set to me, despite being on Adult Swim, which implies it's for an older crowd.
Maybe a little more sophisticated in terms of adults looking back at that and going, cringe. I remember what it was like when I first stepped out into the world. And
Interesting. Well,
I
Gene,
think
do you have Max?
I don't think we do.
Oh, yeah, we don't either. So.
Yeah, I think I might have to resort to other means to watch this. But that's true of so many shows that come out. You can't subscribe to everything. You'd go broke. It's like they want to do, eat or watch television.
No kidding.
Well, and so what happened was, is everybody complained about cable and went, oh, if only they made cable a la carte, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And now we've really kind of gone to an a la carte model where you can either buy things individually if you want through Amazon, or you can subscribe to Amazon Prime or other streaming services.
And now the streaming services are now starting to realize, just the output of a single studio isn't enough to carry a streaming service. We need more content.
Right.
Of
Well,
course,
and
the hubris of the individual studios was so great that they thought, oh, well, we're obviously the center of the universe. Why would anyone want anything else?
well, and they assumed that everybody had the kind of money where they were going to buy multiple streaming services. But when they're all $10 a month, you're not going to pay, $60, $70, $80 a month to get everything. That's kind of crazy. And like we were talking about Disney, which is removing things that they made specifically for their channel. Like they took the Willow show off, and we were like, why would they do that? It's theirs. They own it. It should be fine. And then Colleen found something that was saying that Disney basically didn't want to pay royalties for streaming it anymore and things like that. They were going to list it as a show that they were going to take a loss on so that they could then save money and maybe use it as kind of a tax write-off.
Well, it's a $1.5 billion tax write-off.
Right, but not just for that one show.
Right. but
Everything they're
for
taking
everything
off
they
the
took off.
channel.
But we couldn't figure out why they were taking things off the channel at all.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, because if it's a
but-
show that they produced, it seems weird, right?
But it's also it's interesting that they're doing it right now when all of the director settled, but the writers and the actors
the actors are warming up.
Yeah,
They've just authorized
their strike. Yeah.
Yeah,
What a
but
weird time to do that, because one of the things that they're getting in this write-off charge is that they no longer have to pay what is it called when you're
Residuals?
Residuals.
Yeah.
They no longer have to pay residuals.
As a SAG member, we just ended a vote Monday that authorized a strike. We
Yeah.
haven't taken any action on the strike, but basically all of SAG has agreed that they're ready to go down for a strike when the contracts come up for negotiation, I think at the beginning of next month.
Yeah,
So-
it's not a strike, but it is a shot across the bows.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, they said
We don't have to wait to take a vote.
We're gonna strike
Yeah.
if we have to.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just enough of a sword of Damocles to make it a threat. So we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah. Going back to trailers, coming to Netflix on July 7th is the comedy The Outlaws.
I have not seen the trailer for that.
So I watched the trailer for this, and I will watch this.
It has some
because
good people in it.
I really like the cast, and it looks funny in that whole I'm trying to remember. I mean, it's just a comedy about families. And the parents, somebody is getting married, and his new in-laws turn out to be spies, and he gets pulled into the spy world via his new in-laws.
That's the hook. Okay.
Yeah. And the guy who is playing the one who's getting married, who's the everyman that you're supposed to identify with, is played by Adam Devine.
Right.
And he was in, you might have seen him in Sing? Was it Sing or?
Well, you would have
No.
heard him in Sing.
No, it's not Sing then. It's one where people in college were singing
Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect, yeah. And also the one with the
It has Ellen Barkin in it, doesn't it?
intergenerational families. Ellen Barkin and
Michael Rooker's in it too.
Oh, I didn't know Michael Rooker's in it, but one of the James Bond
Pierce Brosnan, isn't it? So
Yeah.
now, if you guys go to look this up, do not confuse it with a TV series called The Outlaws on Prime, which actually Colleen and I watched. It was a series about community service in England, which had Christopher
so good.
Walken in it. This was actually really good. It was really a lot of fun.
So watch both of them.
And Christopher Walken is the token American. And it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But The Outlaws is a very different kind of show.
Gene looks like he's doing a reverse Superman.
He
like
is.
He's flying, but he's going casual, so he's flying on his back.
Here's some more of the cast from The Outlaws. Richard Kind, Julie Haggerty is in it. I mean, there's some pretty good people in here, so it could be. And I love Ellen Barkin. I just do.
Coming to Netflix on July 14th is Bird Box Barcelona, which I will not be watching because it's a horror movie, but it's in the same universe as Bird Box that came out 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Where the people had to, if you looked at the aliens, if they caught your eye, then you would kill yourself. So
it was
horrible,
like the ravenous
horrible.
bug bladder beast effect.
Yeah, so people had to try and escape while wearing blindfolds, and they had to even blindfold the dog.
Yeah.
So
And they're just they've just moved it to a different place.
yeah.
So
It sounds like Bird Box Barcelona. I don't know. It sounds like somebody making drum noises with their mouth.
that's beatbox.
Beatbox.
Right.
All right, and coming to Disney Plus on August 23rd is Ahsoka, which this is the first announcement of the date that Ahsoka was going to be coming. And so I'm not sure if the trailer is new or not.
The footage isn't particularly new, a lot of it. It's yeah, but it is a date announcement. They do kind of tease some stuff. We do get to see Sabine, and we get to see Hera, we get to see Chopper, who we've
I missed seeing Chopper.
kind of seen before. Thrawn gets a little bit of a tease from the back, whom we've seen before. But this all looks very much like stuff that we have seen first time round. But
there's Chopper
what
right
they're
there.
doing is they are releasing this one episode a week. And so basically the 23rd is the start. And
So
then
there will be weekly reviews here.
Exactly. We'll do them as we usually do, a week apart. This is tempered by a little bit of sadness because one of the main villains has passed away recently, and so this will be his last performance, which I think is going to be kind of strange. Hang on a second.
They're also dropping these on Wednesdays, so
Right.
we will be reviewing what happened the night before, plus a week.
Right. Plus a week. We'll give you a non-spoiler one, but Ray Stevenson is the actor who just passed away, and I think this is going to be his last role, which is unfortunate. But anyway, he was a big fan favorite. He was in RRR, which was a huge hit this past year. He was in the Clone Wars doing voices and stuff like that. And he was in Thor. He was in the Thor movies.
Okay. And coming to theaters on September 8th is Poor Things.
I didn't see this one.
Oh, no. So, am I the only one that watched this trailer?
Maybe.
I think you.
So, this is like someday if Wes Anderson goes crazy, he will make this movie. Or maybe, who did Brazil?
Terry Gilliam.
So, like, Terry Gilliam, but weirder.
It's a little nuts. It's got a huge Addams Family vibe to it.
But it's really weird. It's like there's this woman who is maybe made. I can't tell if she's like a robot or something, or
if she's like a golem, or
Yeah.
it's really hard to say.
but she is very strange.
It's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. It's got a very continental flair to it, but the cast is the sort of constructed woman that Colleen was talking about. Who kind of looks like a golem or something. She doesn't entirely look like she's in control of her faculties. That's Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo is in it. Willem Dafoe is in it. And it looks crazy.
I'm gonna have to say I would say it's the equivalent of a movie like Brazil. It looks like that weird.
The description, official description, is this: the incredible tale and fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by the brilliant and unorthodox scientist Dr. Godwin Baxter. And so that doctor is Willem Dafoe. Emma Stone is the woman in question. Yeah, I mean, it looks crazy. And this is a film, right?
Yes.
And so it falls into the category romance and sci-fi, which you don't hear very often,
That's a head scratcher.
right?
Well, there was that movie that was romance and zombie movie, which you don't hear very
Warm
often,
Bodies?
but yeah, that was pretty good.
That was a good one. I
Yeah.
liked that one, actually. That had Renfro in it, who was I can't think of the actor's name. He was good.
Sean, you want to give us the next section? This one's sad.
Yeah, we a sad one indeed. Only one person we've got who passed away this week. George Winston was a jazz pianist. Did a lot of pretty great stuff. One of the favorites in this house is his reworking of the music from the Charlie Brown specials. He did the Vince Guaraldi stuff. And he's just done all sorts of stuff. But he had cancer, and then he got cancer, and then he got cancer again, and he kept recovering and recovering and recovering. And I think he finally just wore out at the age of 73. We have a cancer hospital here called City of Hope, and he basically gained 10 more years by being treated by those guys. He's got an incredible career of music. Just do a YouTube search, and you'll get all sorts of great returns from him. And I very much recommend his Linus and Lucy album, which is all the Vince Guaraldi, Charlie Brown music, and it's all him on piano, which is pretty great. So sad to hear of his passing. But for the first time in a long time, we've only had one person who passed away this week of note. So
Let's move on to speed round. Jean, do you have anything you want to talk about on that list, or something that you wanted to talk about that's not on the list is okay too?
Let's see. Marvel and Disney. Straczynski to be new writer for Captain America comic, JMS. John Michael Straczynski. He wrote for Captain America before, so he's actually coming back to Captain America.
he also wrote for Spider-Man. He's been busy.
Yeah, he spent a lot of his career writing comic books.
Yeah, and of course you know him probably primarily as the creator and showrunner of Babylon 5,
Right.
which is did the animated movie come out yet for Babylon 5?
No,
He
that hasn't
teased
come
it.
out yet. It's I think it's like 99% done. I think it's still in
He said it
post.
was in the can. They just have to. I didn't know if it came out yet or not, but he said, "Yep, it's all done."
It hasn't been released yet. I know that.
Okay.
Wacky. I would like to talk about a portrait in a museum.
This
So
is great.
I should have put this, like, looked at it again, because I looked at it like a week ago and I haven't looked at it again. But there is a historic Jacobean mansion in England that is a museum. And in the Great Hall, they hung a new portrait. And it's Rowan Atkinson as Blackadder. And then people walked through the exhibit and tried to determine, like, who he was.
Right.
Is he Sir Walter Raleigh?
Is
this Shakespeare? Is he Henry VIII? And then, to make it even more amusing, Tony Robinson, for this little video that they did, Tony Robinson was in Blackadder. He played Baldric, and he stood next to the painting and made suggestions for who that might be.
Might have been.
So
great.
funny. Yeah.
That's great.
And anyone who's listening who hasn't seen the Blackadder series,
Oh my gosh! Run, don't walk.
go to YouTube, look at, or, you know, I'm sure it's on like Amazon or somewhere else, but I've definitely seen it on YouTube, so maybe there. And watch Blackadder, especially the second, third, and fourth seasons. First season, little harder to get into, and I think it was a fifth season or a movie that was a little harder to get into.
There was a movie that was like, you know, Blackadder in space or something.
Yeah.
And I think that they're supposed to be coming out with another Blackadder project, which we'll see.
Yeah, and someone, Eric says, "I have a cunning plan," which is a quote from Blackadder.
I have a cunning plan.
And one of the people watching this video leaned over to Tony Robinson and said, "He looks like he has a cunning plan," and that was just fun.
Baldric, the Renaissance was just something that happened to other people, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the portrait is of Rowan Atkinson from the second season of Blackadder, which is set in the Renaissance, and highly recommended series. Yeah. Everybody go see it. Sean?
Well, I kind of got some sad news from Brian over in our chat, which is back when I worked for Davidson and Associates, where I worked with Brian and Katrina and some very fun people. I shared an office with Dick Lester. He was a really interesting guy. He was just sort of biding his time at the game company, doing art and things. Very talented cartoonist. And he had a secondary career, which I was very, very amused to discover, as an artist named Joshua Quagmire. He did mainstream comic books. He did a bunch of underground stuff. He did a huge parody of Cutie Honey that was called Cutie Bunny. And so he did furry animal comics and anime-style manga stuff. He was an LA local, and sharing an office with him was nuts. Because, you know, we'd poke each other all the time. We'd kind of prank each other all the time. And he would just come in and do his thing. Apparently, he passed away just a few days ago. And, you know, if you are a fan of you know, sort of funny animal comics, he was kind of big in that world. He used to caricature people in his comics all the time. Everybody from like comic book writers like Chris Claremont to like Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, who would wander through his comic as part of a road movie. It was nuts. Anyway, he had a very big online presence, and very sad to hear that he passed away. I've talked to him in quite a long time, but every once in a while, his art crops up as I wander the internet. He was a neat guy.
It's sad. Gene, do you have something else you want to talk about?
Oh, I just the excuse me, moment. There we go.
Rented lips.
Yes. Proliferation of AI art tools. it's of course a huge controversy, mostly because I think people don't understand how AI art tools work. So they think it's plagiarism, and it's not. It works differently than that. What it does do is it imitates the style of other artists and puts them out of work that way.
Right. That is a problem.
Yeah, that is the biggest problem with them. That said, I have been I watch videos about this kind of technology on YouTube, so naturally YouTube feeds me as much of it as it can find. And the latest thing that it has found is something called Dragon, Draggan, and it will, if you have an RTX NVIDIA graphics card, you can run this at home on your own computer. And what it does is it lets you, say you have a picture of somebody, and for whatever reason they blinked while you were taking the picture. Well, you can just put a couple of dots on the eye and open up their eyes, and it will fix. Or they're not smiling, and
Get the
you can
color of the eyes right?
I think you get to choose that.
It's not. This isn't for changing colors. This is for morphing, and you can like.
I think Colleen's point was that how do you know what color their eyes are if they're closed?
Oh, I don't know. I think it has to guess.
Right.
Well, if their hair is a light color, the chances of, or blonde, their chances of being blue-eyed are pretty good. So it might figure that out.
Right.
Or your dog is. It's a great picture of your dog, but you want a picture of your dog sitting down instead of standing up. So you put a little control dot on his rump and drag him down, and it sits the dog down.
Well, Sean just told me about
wild stuff.
Yeah, I was
about
just
something where
going to bring this up.
Oh, you talk about it then.
I don't know. We've been talking a lot about Photoshop lately and how much of a pain in the butt it is to pay monthly for Photoshop. But one of the things they just recently introduced is generative AI, where you select the image that you have, you increase the canvas size, and you then tell it to fill in the missing details. And it's amazingly effective. It's like if you have somebody from the waist up, but you need that person to have legs and be standing on the ground, it will fill in the missing details.
Figure it out. It'll figure out the rest.
Have you done that yet? Have you messed with that with Photoshop?
Not with Photoshop. There's that. The version of Photoshop that does that is the new fresh beta version.
It's the beta, yeah. So.
And I don't have an Adobe subscription, so I can't get my hands on it.
Right.
But I do have Stable Diffusion.
Right. That's pretty amazing.
Completely. It's not a paint box, but it is a generative AI art tool.
You know who I've seen complaining about things like Stable Diffusion and whatnot, and this is pretty hysterical. On my Facebook feed, I have a bunch of people who do sort of nudie, what they call Rule 34 art, which is basically Rule 34 on the internet is if it exists, there's porn of it. Yeah. And so these people are doing, their slash fiction art, and they're doing stuff like that, and they're getting really mad because all the forums that they hang out in are now getting filled with Stable Diffusion art where somebody will just type in the character description or even just the name of the character, and it generates all of this art that like no human had to do. They're getting really mad because all of these guys who used to survive on Patreon contributions to create art for people and commissions don't have to anymore because they're all going to Stable Diffusion and just typing in prompts.
Yeah, or Midjourney.
Yeah, and that plays very much into the, sort of swiping artistic styles. And I know a lot of people who are now not hiring storyboard artists because they're doing their storyboards in AI. And they're also...
Probably with limited success, I might
Yeah,
add.
but it's good enough because it's either stick figures. Because if you look at a lot of storyboards, they're crummy. They're just stick figures that show camera movement and stuff and actor placement. And that's good enough. These are even fancier than that. So these people feel very proud that they've generated that stuff.
Well, but you can't. The AI art tools are, unless you're really, really good with them, you can't get specific poses like that.
I've seen pretty decent stuff that's good enough.
AI
And like I said, it beats the
does.
it beats the stick figures, and it is putting people out of work. People I know who are storyboard artists are now not getting hired because they're like, this AI stuff is good enough. And also people I know who do book cover art for a lot of people who like self-publish on Amazon and things like that. They are now no longer needed because people are like, this AI art is good enough to put on the cover of my book.
And it really is.
Yeah.
Because the quality of the images that it produces are frequently indistinguishable from photographs.
Yeah.
And I mean photographs. I mean like in your face, Nikon Hasselblad.
Right. Well, and it's a big problem too because there's so many people who want to fake you out online, and they're like, look at this old Star Wars project that never saw the light of day. And basically, they've gone to an AI and they said, stormtroopers do X, and you get a stormtrooper doing X that looks reasonable enough. And then they'll tailor their idea, going like, this was a Star Wars claymation project that never saw the light of day, but here's some stills from the production, and it's fairly convincing in framed in those terms.
I believe that people are it's like when in the early 80s when all of the movie studios jumped into game production.
Yeah.
Because they thought, oh, well, we can make a fast buck. We already have the intellectual property. Yeah. Let's go make games. And they had no idea how.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea what made a good game. And so they all jumped in. They elevated the game production budgets by 1,000-fold, crowding out all of the small players, and then they jumped out again when they figured out they couldn't actually.
They weren't actually making money. Well, and that's where VR is right now too. Everybody did that with VR, and now Apple's getting involved in it, but they're too expensive.
Right, they're all jumping into it, and they're saying, "Well, AI can do anything."
Right.
Well,
now where that has come around is productions like the Mandalorian and things like that are using the Unreal Engine to generate their virtual sets on LED screens. That's a good outgrowth of game technology being used in the film industry.
That's not AI. That's game technology being applied to motion pictures.
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's AI. I'm saying that that's an outgrowth of movies getting into the gaming industry and then failing and then finding a more realistic use for it.
Back and suddenly we can use it again.
Because a lot of the game development that was going on for movie companies, that became pre-visualization. When they realized that making the games wasn't going to be any good, they just started pre-vising all of their movies using that same technology, and that became huge.
Now the Unreal Engine's rendering engine is so good and so fast that it can produce, if you're careful about how you light it and how the texturing is done and how the modeling is done, if you have actual artists running it, you can produce real-time graphics that don't have to. There's no render step.
We see that all the time on the Mandalorian, where they use real-time graphics. It's the Unreal Engine, and the cameras are tracked for parallax, and so wherever they move the camera and the volume, the background changes, and it looks perfect. They don't have to do any post-production on it. It works amazingly. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on Disney Plus that people should watch to see that, because it's kind of amazing to watch that happen in real time.
What they didn't pull.
Right, what they didn't pull.
Because they pulled all that, like the prop culture, things like that.
Let me jump in here real quick, just because Linda Bowden brought up somebody that we didn't talk about in the Rest in Peace section. If you were a WWF wrestling fan in the 1980s, one of the big villains was the Iron Sheik. He has been a huge presence on Twitter of late. He was the bad guy that basically put Hulk Hogan on the map and got Hulkamania started with the first WrestleMania. He had a long career of being the bad guy that made other people look amazing. But people loved him on Twitter. They loved his presence. He was a very outspoken guy. And he had a more heroic presence on social media than he did in the WWF. But he just passed away this past week too. So if you were a huge wrestling fan, definitely sad to hear about that.
Yeah, that reminds me of another couple of wrestlers. Dwayne Johnson was recently accused by, what was her name? I'm
I don't know.
digging
Isn't this an old article? I thought we talked about this.
yeah,
That he was
Comiccon.
accused of assault or something, and building robots and
Yeah, and the
child abduction.
yeah, the plaintiffs include like 23 colleges and universities, every major car rental company.
Yeah, she had like 23 pages of handwritten notes on the back of her filing, which was nuts. She obviously was trying every last ditch effort to get her money going on.
Khan was a former wrestler.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wrestler.
Hey, Chris Marble showed up from the Las Vegas meeting. Hey, dude.
Hey, Chris.
Cool.
It's funny that he's in the Lossless meeting and here.
He's in the Las Vegas meeting and he's hanging out with us. What does that say about the Las Vegas meeting?
Uh-oh. I haven't been to a Lossless meeting in so long.
Because we've been doing this show on Thursday nights.
Right.
Nights.
We're coming up on the beginning of our 12th year in like 5 shows or something like that. Our anniversary is the beginning of next month, and and so we've got like 3 shows before we have our 12th anniversary for having done this. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. I should mention, because I mentioned it in our teaser, that Pixar cut 75 jobs. They haven't had a layoff since 2013, I think. And some of the people that they're getting rid of are long-term people, 26-year animators and things like that. Angus MacLean, who was a director on Lightyear, they determined that Lightyear didn't do the kind of business they wanted it to do, so they got rid of Angus MacLean. He was also part of the creative teams on Toy Story 4 and Coco, though. And Galen Sussman, who also produced Lightyear, had been let go. And they'd been there since 1995 and was part of the original Toy Story movie. So it's kind of a drag. I mean, it's inevitable. Bob Iger has announced they're getting rid of 7,000 jobs because they're trying to save $5.5 billion. We'll see how that
I
goes.
think that the studios are have reached their pinnacle, and that we're starting to see the crumbling of the edifices.
Yeah. Well, and some of the Pixar movies weren't great. Like The Good Dinosaur didn't do particularly well. That was when they got rid of that movie's director back in 2013 and 30 other positions and whatnot. They got rid of was it Galen Sussman, who was the woman who took home Toy Story 2 to work on it at home during maternity leave and saved the movie because somebody had deleted it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
you know,
We
but
just-
you're
the only backup.
yeah, you're only as good as the latest thing you did. And like I remember, we were talking about Brian in the video game company that we worked with. When I got let go from that company, I had just saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars by coming up with a video solution that was replacing a 3D art solution. And that wasn't good enough, apparently, to keep me at the company.
Let me go from Rhythm and Hughes. I just finished working the bugs out of a real-time video conferencing system that was pixel accurate, so that they could do dailies over through international date lines, and saved the company millions of dollars. We go anyway.
I don't know who Jack Photon is, who's watching us over on YouTube, but he was talking about Digital Domain when Michael Bay bought it, and they were supposed to have military work that was going to be a great new contract for them, and do combat footage into virtual gameplay, almost like motion capture. said he didn't know what happened to that, but that's kind of interesting.
Call of Duty, I expect. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
what they were doing.
Colleen and I worked on I think it was a Call of Duty title that was their first virtual reality one, which they shot mocap at Colleen's studio, which was just amazing. It was a World War II scenario. Absolutely incredible process and progress. And I don't know how well the game did. I don't even know if it was maybe just a tech demo to see if people wanted more of that, but it was pretty neat. And it's a project I should get off my butt and play sometime, having worked on it. I think it'd be kind of cool.
But is it on a game system that you have access to?
It may not be. It may be on PlayStation instead of Oculus.
No, I have an Oculus Quest now too, so I should send you my link codes.
Yeah, that'd be good. I honestly haven't played it as frequently as I should. I have so many games I want to do. I think it's required. You have to have PlayStation VR to do it.
Did you work your way all the way through Vader Immortal?
No, and I haven't done all of Galaxy's Edge either.
I got stuck on the first boss battle.
Oh, I die a lot.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It makes me so nauseated I can't even play.
Yeah. Poor Colleen gets very motion sensitive to it.
About 25% of people have that problem, and it has to do with the interocular distance in part. So you might try adjusting that.
Yeah, we'll play with it a little bit and see if it works. Yeah, I have that problem when I sit in front of a screen and I play games like that. Like I have to turn the bob and weave off and things like that, and I can only play sitting at my computer for a length of time before I start to get motion sick, which is a bummer because I love immersive games. I have 3 screens here. I have one on either side of me and the center one, and I love playing games that stretch around the entire screen.
People think we're crazy having that many screens, but I added my 3rd screen, and I can't imagine doing without it now.
Well, and that's the problem is you expand to fill all available space, and so what
I would like an additional screen.
Yeah, Colleen has a 2nd one. She could probably use a 3rd one.
No, I would like a 3rd one.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough places to put all of my digital documents.
Yeah. And so what I have right now, I've got the radio broadcast up. I have OB Studio up. That's on the front screen here. On the right screen, I have the chat, and that's what I've been showing videos and images and stuff on. On the left screen, I have all of Gene so that he can show up over here. Because I'm just capturing that entire screen as a video in our center thing. It's complicated. It's complicated. And when I do the morning show too, I've got all my search windows open. I've got research that I'm doing. I've got the radio going on, and you expand to fill all available space. Yeah, we'll get you another monitor, Colleen. We'll find another one for you.
Well, it's not a matter. I have access to a ton of monitors. It's where am I going to put it?
Right.
So
maybe we need to get you a rack that we can mount monitors on.
Yeah, wall mount. You could put one over your.
Colleen's
over your
not
primary.
facing the wall. Neither am I.
We're facing each other.
We're facing each other like Battleship.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So, I come across all the time those standing desks that you can mount like 3 monitors on. And they always go for like $50. So, could always get something like that.
Gene, do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up the show?
Oh, I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
I just did the whole thing that I was bringing up with AI was had to do with the tools are. Oh, I know what it was. I just saw a video for a new service. Actually, it's a new application. How you go text to images. Well, now it's text to people. You describe the kind of person that you want a rigged 3D model of, and it generates it right in front of you.
Wow.
And it wholly unprintable.
Yeah, expletive deleted.
Yeah, wholly can't say this on the radio. it really works, and
Wow. That'll put
AI
some people out of business that I know.
it's gonna put a lot of people out of business. I mean, AI. The thing about AI is it's going to put a lot of the lesser artists out of business, the ones that aren't at the pinnacle of their careers.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And that's worrisome, because if you put the lesser people out to pasture, how will they ever get to be the pinnacle?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Then what happens? What do we do then?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm watching that whole situation, and at the same time, I'm waiting for these tools to get good enough so that I can use them myself, because of course, I personally am never going to be able to afford somebody else to pay them $75 an hour to do that work.
Yeah.
It's just never going to happen. So, maybe it might not put somebody else out of work in my case, but it's definitely going to allow me to do things I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And I think that's the promise of AI. So it's going to take a lot of people who would ordinarily be just one-man bands and barely making it, and bringing their production values up to where we can compete.
Yeah. It's putting a lot of voiceover actors out of business too, because they can now just go online and have anybody sound like anybody with a small sample, which is really kind of a bummer too.
There's an AI project that I just downloaded recently that I haven't played with yet that does that.
Yeah.
And it runs on your, it's not a mainframe that does it. It runs on your personal computer. And the results are frighteningly good.
Let me jump in here real quick. We have one thing I teased that we didn't talk about, which is Marvel is coming back to Comiccon after having been away for a couple of years. A lot of the big companies have bailed on San Diego Comic-Con because they feel like there's no real need to go anymore, because they're getting lots and lots of publicity in other ways. And so why spend a lot of money on Comic-Con? I don't think I'm going to Comic-Con this year unless I find a reason to go.
Yeah, I'm not going either.
Costumers Guild West gives an award. That would kind of be the only reason that I would go. Because getting a hotel down there is pretty brutal. So it's not going to happen.
$1,400 a night.
Nope.
I'll jump in here because we're at about the top of the hour. You were listening to Sci-Fi.radio, Sci-Fi for your Wi-Fi. Thanks for tuning in over there. You may have seen us at Facebook or YouTube or Twitch. And any of those places are cool. Say hi. We're always glad to have you guys. To everybody who's been hanging out on the chat, thanks for doing that. That's it's always good to see you guys over there, and the chat's been pretty lively tonight. So thanks for tuning in. To Jeff, sorry we missed you tonight. Hope Sparrow's graduation was really good. Family is first, of course, and so we're sorry to miss you, but that's totally important. And to Gene for sitting in, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Totally appreciate that.
It was fun.
I'm
Thank
Colleen.
you for inviting me.
I'm Colleen Kaylee Crosby.
I am Sean Obi-Shawn Crosby.
And I'm Gene Turnbow.
As always, may the force
be with you.
Let's see. I even got Gene added into our credits list.
Yay!
Although Gene doesn't have a clever nickname, so he's just Station Manager Gene.
That's a clever nickname.
I think it's enough.
Yeah.
You guys over at Sci-Fi Radio, you can keep things tuned in here 24/7. We always have great shows for you. Go to sci-fi.radio as an address in your browser. And as you carefully consider our Patreon button and our coffee button, and you roll down to the news stories, check all those out. And you can look at the entire schedule for the station. We've got stuff going on every single day of the week. Custom programming by humans for humans, not AI stuff. Thank you very much. And you can check on that. And otherwise, I will see all you guys tomorrow on Good Morning Tatooine. Do tune in for that. We will wrap out the week in style, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I will see you there. And to you guys on the video side of things, thanks for watching. if you can like or subscribe or do whatever on the various YouTube and Facebook and Twitch or whatever, just to let us know that you were there. We appreciate it, and we always appreciate it, because otherwise we'd be sitting in this room talking to ourselves, and that would just be sad. Bye, everybody. Have a terrific week. We'll see you next Thursday.